Good day, Spurs fans, and welcome to this Cheese Room Monday night reaction show where there's only one thing on the running sheet. Tonight, we discuss everything Ange Postegoglou. His seemingly imminent appointment at Tottenham on a 2-year contract and the impact of this on the fan base, the players, and our chances of trophies in the coming seasons. As always, please do like and subscribe to the channel. Remember, YouTube members get a priority readout on any messages they're put in the chat. And if you want the panel to discuss a specific topic or question, then use the super chat function. This really gives you the opportunity to drive the direction of the conversation tonight. Joining me tonight in an all-out attack-minded panel that I've affectionately nicknamed Cheese Luna, we have Seb and Paul from the audio pod, joined by Gibbo in the free roll just behind. Paul, long time no see. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Excited we might have a manager after, I don't know, 200 days or I don't know, whatever it is. So yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to this evening and having a chat about it because yeah, it's a good day. Sun shining in London, you should probably see behind me, and and we might have a manager. Good times.
Excellent. Good. It's good to have you back on the YouTube show. And Seb,
thanks, mate.
Long time no see for you as well. How have you been?
Yeah, I'm good. Making a late run for YouTuber of the year. Yeah, very surprised that no name on that, but anything to stop Caller and HG.
Well, I mean, I've got to say I'm disappointed for the people that are listening that my vote count was very low, very low. But yeah, no good. And Gibbo,
I'll give you a vote, mate. No problem.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. A little clue as well. I've heard a rumor that you can just go on multiple times and just keep pressing the button if you really want to.
Oh, that's.
I'll put it in my family group. I don't know if they've all voted yet.
I sent it out to my mates, and I think they just started picking anyone else.
And my son's football team. I've asked all them as well. Neighbours.
Brilliant.
I've still only got 2 votes.
No, you got like last time I saw it was like 20%, I think.
Yeah, 2 votes.
2 votes. Well, yeah, hopefully I can catch up after tonight. So if you like what you hear, boys and girls listening, please do go on the link and select me, vote for me. All right. Okay, well, getting straight into it then. I think, as we know, it looks like it's pretty much all done and dusted, although I do think we've been here before, haven't we, with a certain Fonseca. But it looks like this one is done and dusted. We've had to hear you go from Romero. Start with you, Seb. What's your initial reaction to Ange Postegoglou being Spurs manager?
Really pleased, yeah. I'm firmly in the Ange camp, I guess. I would say, I'll be honest, it's not like I sit and watch Scottish football every week, but in the last few weeks since his name has kind of been more and more closely linked, I've given them a look. I like what I see. I've read a lot about him and kind of how long he's been in the game, how he kind of motivates his teams, the tactics side and the kind of emotional and mental side of it. And I like everything that I see. And the thing that I like the most is it appears to me that as soon as his name was linked, he made it clear he wanted to come. And I can't remember the last time that we had anyone at the club who made it clear that they wanted to come. I mean, I'm not counting Nuno. I think he would have gone anywhere. But, that for me is huge. It's a massive summer. I think we say it every year, but for me, I can't remember as big or important a summer as what's coming up now. And I'm just glad that it's first week of June, not the first week of July, and that we appear to have someone in and we can all start moving forward.
Yeah. Paul, you and I have spoken when we've seen each other at the games and before online about the football that we've been witnessing at Tottenham. I mean, what are you expecting with Big Ange?
4-3-3, flat back 4, fullbacks pushing in, inverted into midfield, and then our centre midfielders splitting wide to create gaps. What I've really noticed at Celtic, I'm happy he's here, or he potentially will be here. It's all 99% done, as you said. you know, everybody knows how much everybody pays for Spurs tickets, etc. I'm done with what we've seen now for the last couple of seasons, and I want to see some attacking, winning football with players playing with a little bit of kind of with joy in what they're being asked to do. It's a massive job he's got. He's only got a 2-year deal, as some people I put on Twitter earlier. It seems to be the de rigueur now for managers. New managers get a 2-year deal with a year extension. The job in front of me is bigger than 2 years, but let's just see how it goes. I'm not writing him off, and I'm glad he's here, and he's a very good coach. I looked at him a lot over the weekend and last week. But let's be under no illusion. He's got a massive job. You know, maybe our talisman's leaving, etc. We'll probably come into that. But no, I'm happy, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do with the squad that he's got and the players coming back. He's going to have 29 senior players. We've got no Europe, 1 game a week for the first couple of months of the season. Be interesting to see, what he does and how he motivates some of these players who've been here like a good 4 or 5 seasons. So bring it on. Also, bring it on.
A load of players coming back, Paul, who have won Europa leagues, league titles, and everything else in their clubs they've been at the last season. So
Craig, Tanguy and Ndombele played less than 80 minutes all season. Don't start with that nonsense, mate. All right, title winning kind of midfield.
I threw a little bit bait in the water, and straight away I got chumped. Brilliant.
Chum that water. Come on, chum it. Tanguy and Ndombele. It's like me walking past an Olympian training. Oh, yeah, I trained him. I just walked past him by default. Therefore, I'm a great strength and conditioning coach. No, it doesn't work that way. But,
We'll get to that. But, Paul, Ndombele's come out and said he's so looking forward to going back to Spurs. It must fill you with hope and optimism.
Have we got a new chef? What for? Why is he coming? Craig, you know how Postegoglou plays. He's going to play this kind of high-pressing, winnable back counter-pressing system. Now, of all the players coming back to us, who do you think's the least suited to that? Don't start. All right? Okay. You know what you're doing.
I do think it's a good question, though. Maybe we'll come on to later about the ones that are out. Are there ones that we think are going to fit fit right back in? Because I think there are. I wouldn't say Ndombele is one of them, but looking at the system that he does play, I think there are a couple who can certainly impress. So I know you'll go to Gibbo in a sec, but the one thing that I did want to say is I think we are going to see a huge churn. He's kind of, irrespective of the state of our squad, and it is a state, that is what he's known for. He goes in, there is a huge initial churn. A bit like when Pochettino came in, it took him a few months, or certainly into January, and we saw obviously the Kabul and Adebayor and people like that leaving. He shakes it up. He gets the dressing room. He shakes it up, and we will see. I think within months, by end of July, going into August, we'll see a lot of people leave. I think there'll be a lot leaving and less coming in. I wouldn't expect huge incomings. I think he needs to trim that squad, and I think he's known for it. I don't think it will be a problem for him.
Just on that point, Seb, I think it's really interesting. I will come to you in a second, Gibbo.
Right, mate.
This is the side, and we'll probably talk about some of these players potentially, but this is the Rangers side that won the cup at the weekend.
Celtic.
And what's interesting?
Celtic side.
Celtic. And of the 13 players, of the 13 outfield players that played in that game, he signed 11 of them. He signed 11 of them in the 2 years he's been there. So that just goes to prove the point that you were just saying, Seb, about expect some turnover and churn. But we'll come back to that, because I'm sure there'd be a few players in there that may or may not be of interest to us. Gibbo, obviously we know that Ange comes with this footballing philosophy that obviously excited us all. But is it fair to say that he has more about him than just his footballing philosophy? What else will we get from Ange?
Yeah, mate. I'm a little bit of a sort of dinosaur. I like all that sort of like fighting spirit stuff, and the way he talks to people and the way he tries to, I don't know if anybody on here watched the FA Cup, but at the end of it, Man City, you've got the kit man and all the club, all the people who are involved. They're all out on the pitch enjoying it with the team and stuff like that. And that's what we need back at Spurs. We haven't got that. I can imagine if we managed to stink our way to a cup final, we just sort of have like the players who are out there giving it a bit of lifting the trophy and enjoying it with themselves. Whereas City had the whole crew. They were all in. And this is what I'm hoping this guy is going to do. Where, when he comes in, he's going to get the fans, the kit man, the tea lady, everybody just all pulling in the same way. And that's somewhat massive we've been missing. Obviously, the stuff on the football pitch is the most important. But I think, we're desperate for that as fans and desperate for that as a club, just to sort of all be united and put together. And that's what I think he will do. And I totally agree with Seb. I think, and like Paul said when he was speaking, that we've got a lot of players coming back and we haven't got as many games. But I don't think that'll be a problem. I think the ones that I listened to an interview that he was doing, it might have been him or Harry Kewell, but he was talking about players he didn't want in the Australian national squad. And he just spoke to them, told them his plans, was straight to the point, and they went their separate ways and they all got on with it. And I don't think he'll have that problem at Spurs with, well, in his opinion, of moving players on. I think he'll be quite happy to do it. Obviously, it's not as easy as that, but I think that definitely will happen. And I think he'll come in and I think he'll just give the place fresh impetus. And that's what we need. And all I will say is, like, the guy's got to build on Spurs finishing 8th, winning nothing, and playing absolutely drastic football. That's all. That's what he's got to improve on the first season. That is what that's all we're trying to improve on. We are more than capable of that. More than capable.
Yeah. I saw a tweet earlier, and I've taken a copy of it because I thought it's fantastic. I will retweet this. I can't speak tonight.
Retweet the tweet.
Retweet the tweet, and so people can see, to give the guy credit. But he says, Big Ange, with his humility, charisma, warmth, charm, collectivism, and values, is the ultimate palate cleanser after the narcissistic, self-serving, vicious, nasty, spiteful years of Mourinho and Conte and the football. I've said it before, you're going to fall in love with him. I tweeted something as well earlier about how he's certainly less divisive than what we've had in the previous 2 or 3 appointments. Paul, do you agree with that? Is that a fair assessment?
I thought you were talking about Seb there when he comes on the podcast after me, Franco, and Bryan. Do I agree with that? He's definitely gonna bring in, as Gibbo said, like a fresh broom, so to speak, and get rid of what we've seen and what we've all been to the games and seen on TV and stuff the last couple of years. Gibbo is right. He's starting from a fairly low point. I'd like to know what his key performance is, like KPIs or his main kind of goals, no pun intended, are going to be. Obviously, get the club back into Europe in some description, preferably the Champions League. I don't agree there'll be a massive churn. I don't know where these players are going to go. The Premier League, as I've said on our podcast, is the de facto Super League in Europe. The other leagues are skint. Massive players on massive money. Lascelles probably will stay in Spain, hopefully. I don't know where Tonga and Domino is going to go. I think Bryan Hill's got a great opportunity under Big Ange. I really do. I think he's one that could come back and really, really do a job for us. So I agree with him coming in and being that kind of fresh kind of like impetus and like a new flavour around the place. But I do believe that it's not going to be as easy as him coming in and just getting what he wants and sweeping these players out. I don't think. I think he's going to have to make do, maybe certainly in this window. I can't see us getting rid of 10 senior players. I just can't see it, or even 5 or 6. To be honest, with the wages they're on and the contract situations that they're on. But I agree that everything I've read, that he's definitely a good man manager, and he will bring a new spark, hopefully a positive one, to the club. And I agree that to get everybody back and on this, like, you know, the togetherness back, and rather this kind of this fragmented that we've seen certainly over the last 18 months, 2 years. I want that to go. I want a season where I haven't got people booing around me. That's what I want. That's what I want. I want us to like see things happen on the pitch, and we can say, all right, that might not have worked because it didn't work straight away at Celtic, and but we can see, and we're going to clap, and we're going to cheer, and we're going to support. We're not going to boo and be entitled. There you go.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, Seb, because I was saying, I was hoping that I thought Postegoglou may be that unifying appointment for the fan base. What's been quite clear is it's quite divisive. So some people have commented this is the worst appointment since Christian Gross, which I just think are completely unfair. But do you think, Seb, there's potentially some bias against him because of the fact he's Australian and he's not European, and because of the fact that he's coming from these other leagues? And do you think that's fair?
Yeah, I do. I don't think it's fair. No, sorry. I think the point that you're making is fair. Look, a lot of people watch football. Not everyone knows what they're talking about, and I'm not saying that we do. But if you're gonna get people who haven't watched, are just going on off a name. There are, particularly with, I'm going to get in trouble here, but particularly with some people, they watch football. They don't even support a team. I've seen loads of posts about I support Man City and Liverpool. I mean, what's all that about? So you've got to, just because someone puts it on social media doesn't mean it's relevant or right. Look, as I said on a podcast a few weeks ago, any appointment is a gamble. Doesn't matter who it is, right? We don't know. No one can have a crystal ball. Aside from appointing Pape, I don't think there's anyone that you can kind of particularly hang your hat on. I think it is a little bit, like you say, because he's Australian, because it's Celtic. Brendan Rodgers went there and won the treble, and we didn't want Brendan Rodgers and everything else. What I would say is that Daniel Levy's more left field appointments, if you like, in terms of Martin Jol, in terms of Harry Redknapp, in terms of Mauricio Pochettino, have actually turned out to be the best appointments. You can give me Jol and Redknapp any day over Conte and Mourinho, without a shadow of a doubt. You can give me Martin Jol any day over Jacques Santini, as you know. So we have to bear that in mind. I think for me, and again, I have to be kind of careful what I say, but maybe we just got, or Daniel Levy got a little bit ahead of himself. And I really think we need to kind of take a step back and kind of remember who we are as a club. Now, I'm not saying we're not a great club. We're a fantastic club, right? And I love Tottenham Hotspur, and I love everything that it has stood for. And we got massively away from that, whether it was Champions League final, whether it was the new stadium, whether it was trying to play catch up with the mega millions that are coming into the Premier League with City and Chelsea and Newcastle and others. And what I would hope with this appointment is that it kind of reroutes us. And as Paul said, I think we're going to have to give it time. I remember the first season under Pochettino. I think that we finished fifth in the end, and there were some brilliant moments, absolutely brilliant moments, and there were some terrible moments. I can remember going to Man United, and I think we got beat 3-0 with the Rooney goal and the Rooney punch. We didn't get a kick. We were terrible. So you're going to get peaks and troughs, I think, particularly in the first half of next season. But like you say, Craig, and Paul, get behind this team now. We can see, or we have seen, if you watch Celtic and you read about Postegoglou, he has a method, right? And he will transfer that method over, and we have to get behind the method. Let's look at what happened with Manchester United this season with Erik ten Hag. Came in, put his methods down. It did not start well. He annoyed some players. Ronaldo's left, 4-0 at Brentford, all that type of stuff. Slowly but surely, that man stuck to his guns, and fair play to him, because Manchester United, whatever you think of Spurs, that's a hell of a job to go in and put your stamp on that club. Patience, look where they got to. Got a cup final, Champions League football. Things are looking good for them. So that's where I'm at with it.
Brilliant.
Sorry, Craig.
I was
going to say as well, like we're talking about Martin Jol coming in, their sort of left field appointments, and you look at like Jol's CV, people have been talking about Big Ange's CV. And I know this has probably been floating around social media and people have brought it up, but if you looked at De Zerbi's CV without his name at the top of it, he's been to like loads of clubs that, his CV's not great, is it? I know you're not a Potter fan, mate, but like his CV before, but his CV before he sort of come over here was just sort of like working in Sweden, and so the CV really it's their body of work more than the actual names that people are looking at, isn't it? That's
To be
the
fair
most
to Ange,
important
he's
thing.
won everywhere he's gone. Every single place he's gone, he's won.
Yeah, he stepped up every time. So that's how you got to look at it.
Just building on, Seb, from the point you made around the first season's probably going to be a bit up and down as it was with the Pochettino first season. Gibbo, will he get the patience? Will the fan base give him the patience that he needs in that first season?
Matt, I think like when you look at some of these things, you look at it like we're talking about the nonsense that you've seen on social media. That's not really a massive. That's only like a small. I think the fans in the stadium, the match-going fans, the ones who go most of the time, sensible people who are in there, will realise where this club's at. That we've had to draw a line in the sand and we go again. And what we're obviously trying to do with this guy. So I think there will be that little bit of patience. I mean, like we have to. Yeah.
Sorry, you have to caveat this with, if it was Nuno-esque, then patience would run out very quickly. Yeah. And this is what goes back to saying everything's a risk, because I don't think it will be. The evidence in previous and the way he plays football in his previous jobs is that it won't be. But if it went wrong, it can turn sour very, very quickly. What did Nuno have? 10 league games. We haven't got Europe, but if he splits the squad, if the League Cup second round game that we play is against, I don't know, some random League Two team, and we send a reserve team like we did in Europe under Nuno, and he calls it the B team, and things are going to go wrong very, very quickly. But I don't think that will happen.
He appears, doesn't he, Seb, to have a little bit more about him than Nuno. I think. So. Yeah, he just appears to have a little bit more about him. But but you've got to look at it. Pochettino struggled when I think he strikes me as the type of guy that will come in and he'll set his stall out from day one. If you look back on the Poch here, I think he tried to play Adebayor and all these players he sort of had that were I've got to play them. They're the sort of big boys at the club. And then it got to a point, I think, where he had to go, no, I can't do it anymore. I'm on the risk. I'm on the verge of losing my job. I'm playing the young lads who will do exactly what I need them to do. But I've got a feeling that like Postegoglou will probably do that earlier on, maybe from day one. And that's it. You're either in or you're out. And if you can get the people to buy in early doors, you're away, aren't you? So, but we've got to give him patience. That's, I've said on these shows before, Craig, that whatever happens, whoever comes in, we're going to have a certain degree of time and patience, because we're not starting from really, really low, but we've got to draw a line in the sand. 5 years we've played turgid football. It's not going to. He will be able to do it relatively quick, I think, if he gets people to buy in. But we are going to have a bit of time and patience.
I think when Pochettino first came in, I think what was evident, Paul, in his first season was there's a plan there, wasn't there? There's a process, and we could, the fans that were going to the games particularly more, we could see what he was trying to achieve, and we could see that the squad needed help and it needed to have a bit of a refresh and a bit of a churn, and he quickly identified those players, got them out, and I guess that's what we want to see, isn't it, Paul? Certainly as I, as a Matchgo fan, similar to you and others on the panel, want to see, isn't it?
Yeah, He definitely can do it. I mean, I went back and looked at Lennon's last couple of games at Celtic, and they were awful. Gerrard beaten by 20 odd points, and they'd lost loads of games. And I think he drew and lost the first couple of games at Celtic, and then basically it looked like the forums really like got into him for like maybe a week, and then he had a good result against Aberdeen, I think, or Partick. And it all changed for him. I can't remember. So I read a lot about him over the weekend. Excuse me if I've got that wrong if you're watching, Celtic fans. But yeah, the patience, will he get it? To go back to what you're saying 5 minutes ago, yes, he will. Something Seb said a couple of weeks ago was about that you've got to reprogram players. They've been playing this way for a while. Hojbjerg, Skipp, etc., they've all been playing a certain way. It's going to take time for them to readjust, get rid of like what they've been doing for the last kind of couple of seasons, and then like get to grips with what Ange wants and Ange's coaching team. So it's not going to click straight away. Nothing ever does, unfortunately. And we're going to have to give him patience. There's going to be rough times. Of course, there's going to be rough times. But as you say, as long as a fan base, we can see clear, identical kind of steps forward in what he's trying to do, and we can see that, and we can see the players are trying. And as Gibbo said, bought in, he gets patience. If it goes Nuno, then you're going to get the chance from the south stand straight away, mate. You are.
He also seems like the type of personality to me that if it goes well, it'll go really well. He appears to be quite lovable, a bit like Pochettino. I feel like you could really go with him. He could really take you on a journey if, as Paul said, we can see the plan. We want. I hate saying it because it's kind of cliched, but we all want our Tottenham back. We can take the odd loss here and there as long as the performance is there, the heart's there, the character's there, the sense of style, a little bit of swagger's there. We haven't had that.
The effort.
I mean, we had the one player who had a bit of swagger in Gareth Bale come back to add the bit of swagger. He never got played. We need to see a little bit of style, a little with a flourish. Who was it who said that? Was it Danny Blanchflower? Do it with a flourish. Not just turning up and going through the motions, because that's what it's been for 5 years now.
But Sam,
looking at
sorry, mate. I know it's not that important as well, but like what Poch did is, if you're doing well and you've got a good personality and you come across like Poch did, the press get on your side then in the media. Because it's always more difficult when the media are against you as well, which is what they're like with Spurs. They see a chink and they're straight in. Whereas if you've got someone like Ange and you're playing well, and do you get what I mean?
We talked about this me and Paul talked about this with Franco on the pod, of how under Pochettino we were the media darlings. We were everyone's second team. All the graphics that Sky Sports used to put up on, most goals, most tackles, we were first, and they loved us. Gary Neville loved us. Carragher, all of that loved us. Now, and I don't understand it, I think they've got a free pass. Newcastle are the media darlings. Okay,
we're an easy target.
Seem to have forgotten how they've been bought, how much money they've spent. They seem to be the bright young things, like it's some kind of miracle, which I don't buy into at all. But people want to see, whoever you support, they want to see good football. I enjoy watching Manchester City. They are a fantastic football team. As much as I kind of have in the back of my mind, God, they've spent this much money, God, they might have broken this many rules, I still love watching them. And that's what people want. Football fans want to watch good football. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter who you support. We have the players. I still believe that. And I said this again on the pod. Those players haven't become bad players overnight. They have been programmed wrong and they need reprogramming and to learn a new brand of football. And players like Kane and Son and even Romero, you see when Romero goes to Argentina, it's a different player because it doesn't actually take that long. I do think it will take longer with your central midfielders, particularly Hojbjerg and Skipp and sideways. So I made sideways sound like a player, but I think they will need reprogramming. I think some of the defence needs reprogramming. And I think going back to this 4 with the inverted wing backs. I mean, Paul said 4-3-3, and it is 4-3-3. At times, it's 2-3-5 because your wing backs push into the midfield section, and your wider midfielders push up into the channels and split your wingers and your striker. It's quite impressive to watch. And don't want to get everyone's hopes up, but the nearest team that play that system is Manchester City. That is their style, it's their game. But the pace at which it's played is I think what will not surprise fans, but will be the biggest difference to what we've seen over the last few years. It's the pace, it's the non-stop movement of the football. The players run and run and run. The ball goes out, it comes straight back in. There's no waiting, there's no delay. I find it the thing that infuriates me the most, and it's not just Spurs, any football team, is a free kick on the halfway line and it goes backwards. I can't stand it. And from what I've seen with Celtic and Postegoglou, that just doesn't happen. It's front-facing football. Play forward, keep the ball moving. The ball goes out of play, get it back in, because we ain't going to score if the ball's out of play. That's his kind of thing. I remember actually reading. Sorry, I know I'm rabbiting a bit, but Pochettino used to punish the players for he didn't want the ball going out for a throw-in for whoever, for you or them. He wanted to keep the ball in play. You ain't scoring if the ball's on the sideline. And that's what I want to see. I want to get back to front foot football.
Definitely, mate.
Love it. Just in terms of Postecoglou's overall record, I've got a summarisation of what he's done in the game so far compared to Conte. More bait, Paul. More bait.
Oh, Craig.
Paul, what's your take on his overall?
Paul.
What's your overall take on what he's done in football so far? I mean, it's impressive, isn't it? I know he's been where he's been, but he can only win where he's at, right?
Yeah. I think what he's done with Australia, which I spent most of my time looking at over the weekend and back in the last week, was very impressive. Asia Cup and things like that. I didn't really look at what he did with the Mariners, and then I kind of missed that. Went straight to what he did at Celtic. I think putting a graphic next to Conte is a little bit unfair, so I'm not really going to mention on that really. But he's done exactly what he's had to do in the environment he's done it. I mean, he's won a treble. So it's probably a 3-team league up there now. Maybe, still probably a 2 or 3 league team. Team league. So, but he's definitely gets his ideas across to his players very, very quickly, and he's won. You're right. He's definitely won, and there's a couple of question marks for me over the squad as it stands now and his style of football, but I'm sure, with some time on the coaching pitch, he can work around that. Yeah.
Just we'll start moving over to what the impact is going to be on the squad in a second. But my first question for you, Gibbo, and to everyone else on the panel is: if you're Harry Kane tonight, what's your immediate reaction to this appointment?
I don't know, mate. I think any ideas Kane have of either going or staying, I'm not sure if they revolve around the manager. I think that those decisions, possibly his mind, whatever he's going to do, has been made up already, whether he's going to stay, and go on a free, or whether, I just don't know, mate. We just don't know what's going on. I think he'll stay anyway. So like my sort of like judgment's clouded on it, because I believe he will stay this season, but I think he's likely to go on a free. So I don't really think it makes that much of a difference whether we can do all right and make him sign a new contract, or convince him to sign a new contract. Who knows, mate? I just really don't know how it's going to end, but I've just got a feeling he'll go on a free.
I mean, I'm of the view that he'll stay this season anyway. It's out of his hands anyway, isn't it? Ultimately, because Levy will make the decision. But Seb, do you think this appointment will excite Kane, though, in terms of what he's going to be playing next year and the type of football he's going to be playing as opposed to what he's been doing?
No, I don't. I believe footballers, and none of us know Harry Kane, but from what you can glean, Harry Kane's only concern in life is Harry Kane, and that's not a bad thing. That is why he is so good. I don't believe that he spent time watching Celtic, and that he might have got the odd call from Joe Hart or Cameron Carter-Vickers to say, this chap's good. You look forward to it. But I don't think it's going to have any influence at all. The only influence it will have on Harry Kane is when they start training and when they start playing, to see what effect it has. To be fair to Kane, everything you read, no matter about any manager that we've had, is that he had the backing of Harry Kane. Whether it's Nuno, Jose, Poch, Harry Kane backs the manager. He buys in to what the manager's trying to do. He's the ultimate professional. I agree with Matt. I've said this a while now. I think he will stay this summer. I think he could even sign a year extension. And I think he would be then looking to go. And I think he could then even be looking to come back. I wouldn't mind betting that he does, whether it's next summer or the summer after, a couple of years at somewhere like Real Madrid when there's no transfer fee. He's on oodles of money, and then he comes back age 33, 34, a bit like Teddy Sheringham, and comes and finishes back at Spurs. That's what I think could happen. But I don't think, like Matt said, any appointment is particularly. I think it won't barely register until he gets back on the training ground.
Paul, do you think Postecoglou's looking at Kane and thinking, Kane, I need Kane to make this work?
Yeah, of course. I think any team with Harry Kane's a number 9.5 as I call it, or a 10, will make anything work. With what's happened with Benzema in the last 10 days and Carlo saying that he wants a striker, I can see Kane going this summer. I can see him going to Real Madrid. I think he'll come back in a couple of seasons. And I think he's averaged 24 goals across his Premier League career season. That's average. So therefore, under another 2.5 seasons, he's going to break the record anyway if he comes back. I can see that happening as well. Yeah, I mean, I think he'll go, and I think, you know, that Ange is probably half thinking, I've got Richarlison, Brazil's number 9 through the middle. Obviously, he's been played wide. If I was Richarlison, I'd forget about this season. Injury World Cup, playing out left or right in an underperforming team. Richarlison going through the middle with Kulusevski and Son either side of him. I think, you know, that's probably what Ange is thinking, to be honest. You know, I'm with what Matt said and what Seb has said. I don't think the appointment of Ange even impacts Kane less than 15-20%. I think Kane is dedicated 100% focused on making him the best footballer he can be, and Ange doesn't really kind of factor into that, in my opinion.
So, Paul, are you saying, is it your view we potentially could sell him then this summer?
Yeah.
What,
especially now. Go on.
And what would you take for him? What would be your figure?
Minimum of 95 million, and first refusal when he comes back.
Seb, are you on the same page? Agree?
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? We don't really like talking about it, but I think if that money got presented to Levy, and you know what Levy's like, it's same with Bale, upfront money, you know, no instalments, £95 million today now. It's hard to turn down for a player with one year left on his contract, especially with no Champions League football in terms of income and everything else. And as Paul, going back to Paul's original point, he's 2 players in one, and for me, you have to buy 2 players. You have to buy 10 and you have to buy 9. And that's because that's what you need to replace him with. Someone like a Maddison, I think, would be good and would fit the system. And then I would be spending 40-50 million at least on another striker. And it's always a gamble. We don't have a good record. The only decent striker we've had, I mean, I'm not calling Son a striker, but the only decent striker we've had in the last 10, 12 years is Harry Kane. So other ones that we've bought, whether it's Adebayor or Soldado or Richarlison or Janssen or any of the others that you care to name, particularly in that number 9 shirt, it's been a problem. So it's going to be a huge gamble, a huge amount of pressure. I think we can forget about signing any of the top strikers who might move this season, like Osimhen or anyone like that. I wouldn't mind betting that if it did happen, Kane leaving, I mean, that we went for someone like a Watkins or someone like that.
Then we've wasted 60 million last summer. You
need more than one striker, Paul. It's a squad game.
Okay. Do you think Ollie Watkins is going to leave Unai Emery and they're going now? Villa, if they buy well, they'll go. I would say they are of our level at the moment. They're not as big as us. They're a big club, but they're not as big as us. I would say Villa are moving in the right direction. I'd say they're half a season to a season in front of us. I don't really understand how Watkins would leave Villa.
He want to play, won't he?
To come to Spurs. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Gibbo. I don't. Richarlison's got to be our default number 9 now if Kane goes this summer.
They're all interchangeable, aren't they? If you had Son, Watkins, and Richarlison, they're all interchangeable.
Yeah,
we're not in Europe. We're not in Europe, Seb. We're going to play. We're going to be in a minimum of maximum of 3 competitions. I really, especially with Devine playing that kind of role that I saw him in the under-20s, England under-20s. He plays off the strike. He plays that Delhi kind of role off. In fact, he was playing off of Dane Scarlett and he scored a couple of goals. I can see something like that happening. I can't see us going big in for another striker. I can't. I'd love to think I was wrong. I can't see us spending 60 million last summer and then getting 90 million, 95 million, and then going again for another big striker. I just can't see that. I can't see where we get one from, to be honest, either.
Do you think though, Paul? Do you think though, Paul? Like, obviously, I'm hoping, and I'm not sure if Kane will go, but if he does, I know you say you've got to buy a number 9 and a number 10, but that is a hell of a lot of goals we've got to replace, and I don't see Richarlison getting anywhere near that. And you might need to look at doing something and bringing a forward in who does score goals. Do you get what I know? That's really obvious, but just like a goal scorer, just someone who will stick the ball in the back of the net. And I don't think Richarlison does that. I don't think that is his game. We will literally be without a goal scorer. I know Son was Golden Boot the other year, but he's never really been a centre forward, has he? And that's the problem you're going to have if you get rid of Kane. And even though they did spend that money on Richarlison, you have got to replace those goals somewhere. You've got to.
Then you hope that the systems of play somewhere or something we start to like try and like figure a way out of like getting Richarlison more involved, getting him in goal scoring positions. Sorry,
I think he's a scorer of good goals. I don't think he's a good goal scorer.
Okay,
that's like only my personal like I watched him for Brazil and he scored great goals for them.
But doesn't that say something about how don't you think we've not used him well in this last season?
We haven't used him.
We haven't played to his strengths, have we?
No chance. He's not wide. He's crapping. But I've been saying this all season. Sorry for people who listen to me, and now I'm repeating this again. He's shit in build up. He's fucking awful.
He's terrible.
He's awful.
He's got a touch of a baby elephant. He couldn't trap a bag of cement, mate.
And the second one's a foul. It's just put him through the middle, get him the ball quickly in the box, and see what he can do. And hopefully he'll fucking stay on his feet because he falls over half the time as well, trying to con people. But anyway, beside the point. Yeah. If he is our number 9 and we spent this money and somebody somewhere last season thought he's worth this, then we've got to start thinking, right, how do Brazil use him more? How can we get the best out? That's what Ange is getting paid the money for. If Kane goes, we've got to find a way of like replacing at least 2/3 of those goals. You're right, or we don't, or we tighten our defense up and we don't ship us so many goals. We could do it that way as well.
He'll want to score goals, and won't he?
The other thing is
he'll go for the. Sorry, Sam.
We're going to have to be patient as well because I think this transfer window we might see some proper left field incomings or be linked with people. I wouldn't expect the big names. We're not really in a position in terms of the stature of the club at the moment. But I have no problem if Postegoglou spotted someone in Japan or Belgium or anyone like that. I think we might well see a signing or two like that. And is it more likely going off what Paul said? And I agree with him actually thinking about the likes of Watkins or something, or do we actually go and poach a £20 million kid that maybe none of us have really heard of that much, who's done well in, like I say, Belgium or France or somewhere like that, and comes in and plays an understudy. Look, all of this is supposition because obviously all of us here and further afield are hoping that we're not in the position where we're looking at striker options because we have the best one in the world. So that be that what it as it may, I think we all would just hope that we line up with Kane first game of the season with Son on one side and Kulusevski or possibly Richarlison, but I'd say Kulusevski, and Richarlison has a better season and is able deputy in any of those positions. That would be my preference.
If Kane is to go, and Hugo's obviously come out and said he wants out just this week, Caller asked a question of the panel. If we sell Kane and Hugo goes, who's captain next season? Who wants to take that one first?
I'd go with someone along the lines of Christian Romero. I think if you put a little bit of responsibility on that guy's shoulders, I think you might see a bit of a different Romero. That's just a hunch. Yeah. Who would you go?
I would go with I think Romero is a good shout, or Rodrigo Bentancur if he was fully fit. I think if as Caller said, if Hugo and Kane go, you're ushering in a new era, new change. Starting again. You give it to someone young, someone who's going to be at the club for the next 4 or 5 years, and I think those two fit the bill. I wouldn't give it Hojbjerg. I would hope that he doesn't really feature in our starting lineup as much. I'm not saying at all. I'm saying as much. I think Bissouma and Bentancur are our best midfielders. I think Skipp had a very solid season. I felt like Hojbjerg, just as the season went on, he was asked to do a lot. I'm not knocking that, but he got more and more tired, more and more backwards, more and more negative. And I think it was telling, really, that who knows what really happened with Hugo, but towards the end of the season, when you're missing Lloris, you're missing Dier, and you're missing Hojbjerg, not really any reason given. Who quite knows what's gone on there? And then for Hugo to come out and say what he did, I think we all knew. I don't think he needed saying. I don't kind of get why he said that. I think we all knew he's got a year left on his deal. He's 36. It's obvious his time was up, unless he was prepared to kind of take a back seat. But to be fair to Forster, look, I saw the poll on the YouTube poll for player of the season and signing of the season and all that. And when I filled it out, I gave my signing of the season to Fraser Forster. I thought he was, out of everyone that we signed, he was the most consistent player. He made the odd mistake, keepers do. Can't remember him having a bad game. So he's your deputy now. That's obvious, and there's no room for Hugo really. So no hard feelings. What a servant, but time to go.
Joe Hart's coming back, don't you?
Mate, obviously I agree. Craig, that until sort of like towards the end of the season, I like Hojbjerg, and I thought he would always be the guy that took the captain's armband, but he just fell off a cliff, didn't he? Looked shattered. Totally agree with Seb. Just got more and more negative. Simple little wall passes constantly back to the centre back. He looked better, when Bissouma used to come in and you could free him up a bit. But I agree with the lads where I think if you've got if we're entering a new era, if Kane goes, maybe you bring a captain in. Because Bentancur is going to be out till probably not. Paul, you'll know more about this stuff.
November.
Yeah, and then getting him back regularly in the team.
New year.
Yeah. So it's hard to give somebody that captain's role. And Romero, maybe that will work, putting a bit of responsibility on him. But, towards the end of the season as well, he was so rash, wasn't he? Unreliable in those areas. We all know there's a good player. So I look at that squad, and you take, once Kane's gone and Hugo's gone, Bentancur not going to be around for a bit. I'm not sure on Romero's temperament at the minute. If Hojbjerg would be, to me, if he was playing and he was playing well and he was part of it, would be the guy. Not saying he's the best player there, just like with that sort, he's got that about him. But probably he's not going to fit in that style of play. Do you look to bring someone in? Because I don't really see too many of the sort of leaders in that team.
Go on, Paul.
I know he had a doctor, a groin injury, but Dier, I know he's not everybody's cup of tea. But it's probably come on to as well. I don't know what you're going to say there, Craig, but yeah, the formation. I just, the thing that worries me about the Ange, let's call it Ange ball, is playing the back four when we've built our squad around wing backs, and we've got Destiny Udogie, who's going to be in the Italian under-21s in a fortnight. And I've watched him 9 times this season, and he's fantastic. He's played left centre back once, and he was good. We've got Jed Spence, who's playing right back on loan, but obviously for England 21s, and Middlesbrough and Forest was a right wing back. He's obviously very, very good. That concerns me as well about the back four, especially that we don't have the personnel there right now. Especially if Dier doesn't get the contract extension, that kind of feeds into the captain thing as well. Because if he was a regular in a back four, not saying that Dier should be a regular in a back four, then that would be a good option for captain as well. Because he does take a leadership role on the field, notably when it's going right, and or he's having to go at the ref. But I think Dier does have some leadership qualities about him, but maybe there is a little bit of doubt that he's going to be here long term. But Gibbo's right. Maybe bringing in someone, an older kind of statesman like of the league. I don't know. Maybe Ange has got someone. He might bring the guy down from Celtic. I don't know. But the captain thing is interesting. It's a good question, unusually from caller.
I was just going to ask the question because anyone remember a time when a team had brought in a captain and he's gone straight in as captain aside? I can't.
No.
No.
No, did Villa do it with someone? I can't remember. It caused Gerrard changed the captain. It caused a little bit of a stink, but I find that difficult because even though we're saying there's a lack of leadership, there are long-established professionals at that club. It put quite a few noses out of joint. I would imagine. I can't see that happening. We've got national captains. Son's a national captain, isn't he? Yeah. That's someone that we've not spoken about possibly. But look, again, go back to what we said on the last point. All this is supposition because Kane's staying, so it doesn't really matter.
Yes, Seb. Love it. Obviously, Tottenham have reportedly put 7. This is all obviously paper talk, but 7 players up for sale with the prospect of Ange coming into Spurs. So I guess my question now for the panel, apparently, so the papers say. My question is, out of the current squad, including those that are returning, who do we think wins and loses? So I think if we start with the back line potentially and sort of go through in that back line, sort of we know who they are.
Yeah.
Who do we think wins and who loses? Who wants? Seb, you want to go first?
Yeah.
We'll start with the fullback positions.
Okay, so as Paul said, it's interesting because I disagree with Paul slightly in with the back 4 being flat. Those wing backs push up. The only difference is they push into midfield rather than wide. They don't go wide. They come in. They create that midfield 3. I think Emerson Royale wins. I think that's a definite for me. And to be fair to him, he was my most improved player last season. I've got a soft spot for him. I think he tries hard. He wants to do well. He doesn't lack passion or charisma or personality. And I like him a lot. And I don't think that's a problem. I think Ben Davies can do that admirably. And again, unlike a lot of people, I have no problem with him. Solid professional. Approaching 10 years with the club. No problem at all there. Romero will be fine. No issue. Oh, sorry, we go in fullbacks. Sorry,
so we go to those. So we've got Sessegnon.
I don't class Pedro Porro as a fullback anymore.
Okay.
I think he can play wide midfield or even as a right winger.
Yeah. So
there's no issue there. I think Jed Spence might struggle. I think that signing's looking more and more harebrained, and that's not a knock to Jed Spence. I think he's a good player, a lot of potential. And then on the other side, Reguilon, it suits Reguilon, but he hasn't played any football. So he's got to come in, and I can't see that happening. I think Perisic will be off. And I don't class him as a fullback either. I think that was real muddled thinking last summer. And again, I don't really blame Perisic. It was just a player, just played, obviously got talent, obviously good with a dead ball. Not sure the Premier League suits him. And certainly the positions that we were trying to get him to play didn't suit him, and it didn't suit the rest of the team. Certainly didn't suit Son on that left-hand side. So I think he'll be off. And Destiny Udogie is the big question mark because certainly, as Paul said, a capable player. I mean, the speed of thought that he's got is very... Is he 19, Paul? Have I got that right?
Yep. 19.
He is an incredible player for that
fantastic.
age.
He's fantastic. He's great.
But
he's a wing back.
I'm not sure about him in the system. That's the question mark. Sessegnon, I would be trying to sell. I think he's had his time. I don't think it suits him. Again, for me, he's like Perisic. He can't nail down a position. He's not left back. He's not a left midfielder, and he's not a left winger. So what is he? because I don't think he knows. So yeah, I think that covers them. I would expect that that Emerson Royale is kind of penciled in. Don't see that being an issue on that side. And Spence might have to learn how to play on that side. And and Porro is pushed further forwards. That covers the right. And I would expect Davis to be left and possibly looking to sign someone on that side as well. And I don't know about Adogi. That's the big question.
It feels like a real problem for us.
Other than Spence, have we? Sorry.
No, not sure. It feels like a real problem across the pitch, across the squad, because we've almost got a really imbalance there now, haven't we? In the way it's been created. So it's going to be interesting. Paul, should we go to centre halves? What's your take on the centre halves? Winners and losers?
Keep Christian Romero. Keep Big Joe Rodon.
You'll keep Joe Rodon, yeah?
Yeah, I'd keep Joe Rodon. There's a player there.
It's going to suit him as well. It's going to suit him as well. I agree.
You see him at Wales. He's not. I'm thinking Ange's system. What I've seen, and correct me if I'm wrong here, your ball playing quality for your centre backs isn't that high because they expect the pivot to take it quite a bit. I see that at Celtic. So keep Rodon. Jaffet. I don't think Jaffet's Premier League. I just don't think he's got that quality about him as well. I'm not that fussed about Longley, to be honest. Dier, I would definitely keep for another 2 years. And yeah, obviously keep Romero. Have I missed anybody else at centre half?
Sanchez.
Oh yeah, so Davinson Sanchez. As someone who nearly got into a fight in the stand with a guy sitting in front of me about Davinson Sanchez and about booing him. But anyway, if you take the emotion out of it, I don't think he's good enough. I just, as an athlete, I think he's good. I think he's strong, but I just don't think he's suffered too much at the hands of our fan base. And and Seb said it earlier, like Royale turned it around, the booze, and he got the piss taken out of him for getting the hyperbaric chamber and getting his own masseuse and his own trainer in and stuff like this. But it's worked for him. I just don't see that happening with Sanchez. So I would probably get quite a bit of money for Sanchez. So I'd probably sell him.
Remind me, Paul, is Dier classed as homegrown?
Yes.
He is. Yeah.
Yes.
He's not in Europe then.
He came to Everton, didn't he? Yeah, he came to Everton when he was 16, 15. Is that right? No, got that wrong.
I thought he was on loan at Everton, wasn't he? Or
maybe I've got it wrong then.
I thought he was homegrown in one competition, but not in the other.
He's not homegrown. He's not homegrown. No. I'm 99% sure of that. No, he's not homegrown at all.
Is that because he's at Sport? Is it Sport until what, 18?
I think he was older than that. Yeah, but yeah.
I thought he came over to Everton when he was in his teenage years. He's like late teenage years.
He was only there for 6 months. Months.
Okay.
It's interesting, isn't it? We've got a problem with HG and homegrown imbalance as well, haven't we, to consider as well. All right, then moving on then to the midfield part of the table then. So, Gibbo, do you want to start with that? We'll start with where are you at with? So who have we got? Hojbjerg, Bentancur,
Bissouma. Bissouma's got to be the one, hasn't it? When you look at the last, I mean, I'm not as tactically astute probably as the two guys from the pod, but like I look at Bissouma and I saw the last 2 games, and he tries to get the ball moving forward even from a deep lying position. So surely Ange is going to be all over that. Surely he's got to be one of those starting 3. Bentancur out for a long time. Hojbjerg, like we said, really, really struggled towards the end of the season. Is he going to be able to? Because he's not very good at taking the ball on the turn, is he? Hojbjerg, he sort of takes. He's very what I call like square and basic. Everything's sort of like really, sort of like the movements are all sort of like if I'm standing that way, I'll pass it that way. If I'm that way, I can pass it that way. So whether there's going to be a place for him, I don't know. I don't see what everybody else is in Skipp. I just don't see it. I don't get it. I'm not saying he's a bad player or nothing else is going to come from him, but I just don't. Whether he's been playing in a bad team for too many weeks, but I just don't see it. I don't get it. And obviously, I've not seen enough of Sarr. But I think there's got to be a shake-up in that midfield. I think we're going to need to move the ball quicker and have players running. We're going to need runners, to get beyond the forwards as well. And from what I've made out of how like Ange ball is played, so Bissouma and Bentancur, when they're fit, would be definites. The rest of them, I'd like to see somebody a little bit more creative in there, possibly. But
Alfie Devine.
Yeah, well, integrate him in. If he's good enough, I'm sure he'll get integrated in the squad, Paul. So yeah, I'm all for that. But I haven't seen enough of him play, mate. I'm not going to say, yeah, definitely, because I've heard he's a talented lad. I've only seen little bits of him. So hopefully, yeah. But from what I've seen and what I can sort of like judge, I look at Bissouma and Bentancur and I'm going, yeah, that's 2 out of 3 that could push us up the league. But we need a third, don't we, in there? Because he's going to play 4-3-3. So do we bring someone in?
I think he plays with 6, doesn't he? And he plays with 2 8s. So he plays with like a holding
single pivot. He plays, doesn't he?
Plays with 6 and then 2 8s. See, 2 8s, I think, with Bentancur and Bissouma, and Skipp could play a 6. And Matar as well. I mean, watched a little bit of the World Cup. Obviously, he played against England, Senegal. He did really, really well away at Milan in the Champions League. This kid is like meant to be one of the hottest talents coming out of Africa. He surely could like play a role as a 6. But your 8s are definitely Bissouma and Bentancur when he comes back. Definitely.
I disagree with that a little bit.
Okay.
I from what I've seen with the defensive midfield role, if you want to call it that, it's not. It's primarily to get on the ball and start the attacks. So you're not asking. You're not asking, for instance, for someone to play the Kante role or the Makalele role as it used to be. So for that reason, I think Bissouma can play that role and be the deeper midfielder. And you'd have Bentancur as an 8 and an other. I think Sarr can come in and play that Bissouma role as well. And the other name I want to put into the mix, and you're going to laugh, but I think it'll work. I think it'll work. I think he'll get a chance. Is Harry Winks. I think Harry Winks will come back and I think with the squad.
Does the lack of goals in that midfield worry any of you guys? Because I know, like, your forwards score your goals, but you need players chipping. I suppose Bentancur and Hojbjerg earlier in the season were chipping in with goals. Bissouma's never really scored goals. So out of those other 2 players in that 3, we're going to need someone who can weigh in with a few. Like when Chelsea used to play 4-3-3, Lampard used to weigh in with goals, didn't he? That midfield, for me, that midfield area looks a little bit shy.
Go and get Ward-Prowse.
Doesn't it bring Madison in?
Let's go and get
Madison or
Ward-Prowse.
Madison or Ward-Prowse, yeah.
I wasn't going to risk the anger of Paul by mentioning the names of Winks and Ndombele, Seb, which is why I didn't put them in.
Hey,
what about the Chelsea?
Yeah, Lo Celso. He's playing in Spain. He's by all accounts of anybody that vaguely associate with coaching at the club, he's a bad apple. He's moody. He rocks up late and stuff like this, and he doesn't, even with like Lamella when he was there and Romero, he's kind of like countryman. He just doesn't mix very well. He never went to any of the socials or anything like that at all. So I get the feeling that he thinks he's probably above all that and or above us. So I don't really see Lo Celso because he had quite a decent season in Spain by all accounts. So
you guys will know a bit more than it. Obviously we see the links to Maddison all the time, but I see stuff saying that obviously Newcastle are in for him, but he fancies playing for Spurs. That's his preferred option. Would Maddison play? Because he usually plays as a 10, doesn't he, in a 4-2-3-1 for Leicester. Yep. But would he be able to play in that midfield 3, Seb or Paul? Would he be able to come in and do that role? Because I think he's gettable. People who say, "Oh, we want Champions League football," but I think if things are looking up for Spurs, I think he's gettable for us. He gives me Bentley vibes. He does. He does. I'm not taking a mick. He gives me Bentley vibes.
No, I think there's a very good player in there. What I would suggest to go against that kind of Bentley comparison is he's been consistently good wherever he's gone, Maddison. From Coventry through, he's always been a step up from. He's always shone in every team he's been in. He's shone for England when he's played. He's for me, he's one of these. I think we'll regret it if we miss out on him. I think wherever he goes, it would be a success. It's a good question that you asked, because from what I've seen, those 2 8s, if you want to call them that, need to move into channels. They don't start in the channel.
Yeah,
it's a back and forth movement that pushes as we said, pushes Son and Kulusevski wide. They make up effectively. Then you're playing 3 up front. You have Kane with two 8s, and they need to move, and they need to have the discipline to get back into midfield and then make those tracking runs. As you said, he plays as a 10, so you're asking him to do something different. Thinking out loud, Paul mentioned James Ward-Prowse. He probably positionally is a better fit, but in terms of what Maddison gives you and what Maddison adds to a team, obviously, with set pieces, I know Ward-Prowse does that as well, but with set pieces, with his creativity, with his vision, with his link up play with a front man, with his goals, he'd be the one that I want, and he'd be the one that I'd try and make fit. I don't necessarily think it's a square peg in a round hole. I think it's more of a kind of you'd move it around a little bit if you could get someone like him. Are we going to spend 60 million? Well, I don't know if it is that much, but could well be. I think it's changed probably now they're relegated, but there'll be a queue of people. I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal are after someone like him. Obviously, Newcastle links. I don't think Liverpool. Can't see that, especially with McAllister going.
No.
But I think we'll be in competition, and as you say, no European football. It's weird. I was having this conversation just to digress slightly. Whether this is the year for players, and I'm looking at Harry Kane here, not to have European football, going into the Euros, keeping themselves nice and fresh, 1 game a week. Nice little cup run, which, as we all know, Spurs need, and whether this is the year actually to after what has been a mental year with the World Cup and everything, to actually whether that actually in some kind of twisted way works in our favour. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I think it will but Kane just obviously I can't. Do you mean will he be thinking? If I go to Madrid, I've got lots of games. If I stay here, I'm not playing as many, not and keep fresh. Because I think there's been times where Kane needs saving from himself. I think he'll just want to play every single game available to him. Score as like you said, it's all Kane is looking after number 1, and I just think games and goals and numbers.
Take Kane out of it then. If you're James Maddison, as a for instance, are you thinking I've got more chance of getting in the England squad? In the Euros, if I stay nice and fit, I'm playing 1 game a week, I'm shining in the league. I'm not going to, as for instance, Real Madrid and PSG and Spurs are getting, or Newcastle are getting battered, and I'm not shining out. I'm playing opposition that I know week in, week out. I'm used to this. If I have a good season, I'm in that Euro squad.
Yeah, I think Maddison would see coming to Spurs as an ideal opportunity, because I think we should push up the league and get European football again, which most players do want to play in. But obviously, I do think if he gets in and he gets games, he'll think I can shine here better than I can anywhere else, and I'll probably play more. So yeah, you're probably right with someone like Maddison. I agree.
What do you think, Paul?
Playing one game a week until we start the domestic cup competitions. I'm not sure, Steph. I'm not sure. It is a thought. It is a thought, but there is also with a sports science head on, thinking players have got to stay sharp. It sounds like Ange plays a high pressing game. That's going to take a lot of training. So they're going to have to stay kind of mentally and physically sharp. Maybe build up to 1 game a week. Maybe that might not be in their interest. I don't know. I really am not sure, mate. I really am not sure. I've become so accustomed to 2 games a week because we've been in Europe now for last 10 seasons or 9 seasons or whatever it is? It's a good question. I just can't answer it, mate. I can't answer it, but it is an interesting thought. What do you reckon?
Craig, we've digressed from your,
no, it's not. That's good. It's a good conversation, a really good conversation. Moving forward to the front three, probably the least contentious of the positions, I think, in our squad. But we've got Harry Kane, Son, Richarlison, Kulusevski, assuming that we trigger the payment, which I think we are going to do. Porro,
Bryan Hill.
Bryan Hill coming back from loan. Yeah. So does Bryan Hill get back into this team?
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes. I think he does. I really think he does. I think if he's shown he's going to get a chance and he's not going to be tossed aside like he was by Conte, you can see the kid's got something. Didn't have the greatest final last week, but I've watched him a few times again, and he's done well. He's done well. He's a fit lad, as in condition, not as in a pretty boy. He's a pretty boy, obviously, as well. But he's like he's very well conditioned. I don't think he's going to have any problems. I don't really subscribe to this fact that you have to be 6'2" and built like an outhouse to in the Premier League. So I see Hill definitely with his trickery on both sides as well, and also his just sheer willingness to get involved and try and make things happen. I can see him doing decent bits under Ange. Definitely. Yeah.
And do we? I take it Danjuma. We're no interest in Danjuma staying. Doesn't play a part.
Mate.
You've got your six there. If you're looking at the three, you've got Hill and Son, you've got Kane and Richarlison, you've got Kulusevski and Porro.
Yeah,
that's it. I would not expect, unless one of them leaves, and I can't see that happening as well, I'm afraid. I think Parrott certainly should be on his way out. He's not really shown up wherever he's gone. Scarlett is a different matter, and I have to admit to not seeing too much of him, nowhere near as much as Paul. He's probably the one to talk about Scarlett.
Scarlett's all right. Plays in the width of the 18-yard box. When he does pull out wide, he's got a really good cross on. He crossed for Divine against Paraguay. I can't remember. And it was a really lovely cross off his wrong foot, and it was just like a really nice finish to Divine. I think Scarlett needs another loan. I really do, and I think it needs to be like a high level. It needs to do like what we did with Skipp at Norwich, and let's see if he's got it.
Yeah.
But I think there's a player there. I agree. Parrott, ship's gone, mate. You're a championship level player. You're going to play for your country. Great. You're not a Tottenham forward. He's not going to. He's going to waste time with us. He's not going to get anywhere near that front line. With Scarlett, give him another year out on loan. Harry will definitely be gone. If not gone, then there'll be another spot up for grabs. Let's see. Exactly. Let's see.
Could see Scarlett. See where I could see Scarlett is Leicester. Might be something that could go on there. That's the type of club he needs to go to. A Leeds, a Leicester, something. Leeds. Leeds did get relegated, didn't they? Yes. Yeah. Leeds, a Leicester, somewhere like that. He needs to play 25, 30 championship games, and then we'll really know. He started. I did see him. When he started Portsmouth against Vale earlier right at the start of the season, and he started well, just went a little bit off the boil. But I think I'm right in saying that he was trekking, so he was still doing days at Tottenham, training days at Tottenham, then joining in. I always think that's a little bit difficult. He needs to go somewhere, like Paul said, be part of that squad, consistent part of that squad, get 25 odd games under his belt, and then we'll know. Much the same as we did with Kane, much the same as we've done with quite a few players in the past. But yeah, he needs another loan. Those six that I mentioned, they're the six. We don't need anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
I know I sound like a broken record. Sorry, Craig, but like you're saying, that's the six. So just to ask the question though, lads, obviously Kane bags have got, and like I said, I sound like a broken record. Do you think there's enough goals in those other players? We know Kane will score goals. He'll always score goals. Hopefully Son will get back on the goals, even though he did bag a few this season, though he had a poor season by his standards, he'll bag. But the rest of those, do you see enough goals in them? As attacking players? Do you I don't see it. I think you're right what you say about Hill, but I don't see goals in his game. I know he's very young. I look at Kulusevski. and obviously his standards dropped this season, but I don't see a lot of goals in him. I just
I do.
you?
I do with Kulusevski. Yeah. I think there was a mix with Kulusevski this season of coming back from injury. Obviously, that's not good. A little bit of lack of confidence. He started then to be in that team. Was he actually dropped before he got injured?
Yeah,
he was dropped to force Richarlison into the team, and that's not great. So yeah, there was a bit of a drop off, but yeah, I see goals because I just like how flexible he is. I really like Kulusevski,
I do, mate. I do.
But I see goals. I mean, what was his record when he first came into the team? It was ridiculous, wasn't it, in terms of goals and assists? Wasn't he third on the list for the whole season? Though he only played since January. So I think there's definitely goal. I don't care if he's scoring or assisting, but creative wise, I think he's another one that will really flourish in a system. It will really suit him.
I suppose Porro has proved that, hasn't he? The last, he started bagging a few and assisting a few goals. So yeah, and do you say another thing I was going to say to you two boys? Like with the system Ange plays. If you've got Romero and if you can get another commanding centre half in there with him, could you see a way in where we play Destiny left back, Porro right wing back, and they push up and the midfielder drops in a little bit? Is that possible? Or do you think that is risky, just playing them two as the fullbacks?
I think when you've got somebody,
no-go?
I think when you've got someone as good as Emerson Royale in a standard, quote unquote, right back position, I don't think you really want to mess with that, to be honest. I think Royale is very good. He's been very good when he had to like deputise at right centre back as well when Dier was out and Romero went into the middle. So I think he's probably a shoe-in for there as well. I don't like this lopsided kind of thing that Jose tried to do with Serge. Spent most of that season screaming at Serge because he's just starting on my side. And I don't think Ange's going to do that. I think going back to quickly what Seb was saying, this won't be long, is that I think he likes his wide players, the wide players of the front three. I think he likes to keep them wide and therefore create kind of spaces in the half space, which is like where the fullback will undercut Kulu. So for example, Kulu's out on the right hand side, and then like Royale, if he's playing right back, comes flying forward, and Royale can do this, or even if Porro does make it as a right, they come flying inside, and that's how he creates overloads. I think that could really suit some of our players. It'll certainly help Kulusevski as well, because I like him out the touchline. I'm a little bit worried now that some of the fullbacks might work him out, but they don't seem to work Anthony out or Matoma or anybody like that. So, let's hope he. But I agree. I can see him assisting a lot more now that he's going to hopefully have a pre-season and the injuries behind him, and he can score. He can definitely score.
Can I throw something else random into the mix with you saying about the two centre backs and the full back still pushing up and leaving that defensive midfielder? Is there any chance at all, and this has just literally popped into my head, so it might just be rubbish, so I apologise in advance, any chance at all that Eric Dier plays a defensive midfield role?
This is not Pochettino 16-17. No.
But no. That was the reason why I mentioned that is that was the system. That's what we were doing. He was dropping back into the centre.
When Walker and Rose were flying forward, and then Eric would come back. Yeah, no, I don't think Eric's got that in his game anymore, mate. No,
I think he's done. I do.
Say again.
I think he's done, Dier. I think there could be a change in the. I've got a feeling that, like you said about. I know Dier had an operation, and some of this old guard, I think they're going to try and move them on, because there was this talk about Dier having a new contract for ages and ages, and now it's gone away. Do you know what I mean?
I understand what you're saying. I just worry. Well, you might well be right, but I worry if I would want Sanchez to go. I would want. We've got Joe Rodon, who's barely been at the club. We've got Romero. We've got Tanganga, who you don't think is good enough. If you're going to get rid of Dier, you are. Yeah. I mean, that is the extreme of wiping the slate clean. And who do you then get? You then, as far as I can see, you need to bring in at least two centre backs. Just imagine Romero gets injured. You're then pairing 2 new centre-backs with a new manager in a new system. For me, that's too much. For a little bit of stability and a little bit of continuity, I would keep Eric Dier. Much the same.
No, I don't think Longley offers enough.
No, I'm only saying because we've not mentioned him, and he's obviously played quite a bit this season, hasn't he? And there was talk of him possibly coming in.
I think in a back three, if we were definitely going to play a back three, then Longley might be worth a shout, depending on who's in front of him. But yeah, Longley in a 4, no.
I'm the same.
Craig, what do you think about Longley in a 4?
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think it works at all. I do worry about the back 4, the 2 centre halves in the back 4. I think Romero will be fine. I do worry about Dier being next to him in that back 4. It's not being
they play high. They play high, and you leave. I was going to say that.
I was going to say that Celtic played what I saw.
They play high.
I watched about an hour of the cup final, and they play high. I don't know.
The more space you leave him behind Dier, you're in trouble. He's in trouble. He's in big trouble the minute anybody.
If you're Postegoglou, Seb, what's your priority positions in terms of bringing in? Where you're looking at? I'll start with 7. Then I'll go around.
I don't think it's, if I'm Postegoglou, I think it's just a simple fact. We need a new goalkeeper, we need a new centre back, and we need a new 8 if that's what we're going to play. I wouldn't really, honestly, I wouldn't look at another, like the Adogi is the question mark, as we've said. But aside from that, I really don't think it needs too much. As we started the pod, or the YouTube, I should say, by the conversation that we had was clean slate. We've got the players. What we haven't had for the last few years is a manager with a plan that suits the players. I think we believe that we've got that now. I don't think it needs ripping up. I think there needs to be a lot of exits, as I said. And thank you very much. And and I think I would concentrate on 3 ins. If we were to go out and spend 30 to 50 million per player on those 3 positions, and we got rid of the ones that we talked about that we know, I don't think we can argue with that. I'm not expecting us to go out and spend 60 to 80 million on any players. I think there's probably, as I would expect to be, £100 million kitty, maybe topped up with some sales. And goalkeeper, centre back, 8.
So Brentford want 42. David Ornstein was saying that Brentford want 42.5 million for Raya. That seems to be the going kind of rate for keepers at the minute. I thought it was great when he came to us. Craig, did you go to the Brentford game?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of Raya?
Yeah, I liked him. He was dominant, wasn't he? His distribution was good. I think it was a good audition for him, wasn't it, to be fair? Yeah.
Clearly he's not going to sign again. He's not going to re-sign at Brentford. He's got a year left in his deal, I believe, or even 15, 18 months. So he's not really going to re-sign. So they want 40-odd million for him. I can see us going for that as well.
Would you prefer Raya or Pickford, Paul?
Are you baiting the water again there, Short? What is this? Is it like just keep like nibbling at Paul? Is that what this is about tonight? Fuck off, Pickford, Seb. Could you imagine like him like shouting and screaming and the ref and throwing his arm? It's bad enough watching. Oh no. I Raya all day, every day, and twice on Sundays.
Yeah.
Stop it, Short. Right, stop it. And a number 8 is I believe with the long-term injury that we talked about with Bentancur out and possibly November. Yeah, we'd probably need another midfielder there. Seb's right, and I've been saying this as well. There's not a lot wrong with the players and the quality of the players we've got. They just need to be moulded into a system, and we saw that very, very briefly under Mason at the back end of the season. Move the ball quickly, try and play one system out of position, try and play one system in possession, get the ball quickly, play it in front of Son. Harry will do Harry things as well, and we've got Bissouma not being a 6. We've got him being a box 8. And we've seen it with Villa as well. Emre turned him around. There's not a lot wrong. There's just 1 or 2 things, as Seb has said there, and yourself. Goalkeeper is key. I don't think we can trust Forster all season. I hope we don't go into the season with Forster. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I agree. I guess the final discussion point for tonight, before we bring it to a close, is the director of football. Now we've got the manager across the line, seemingly before the director of football. Are you looking at that and thinking we need to get that DOF in, or are you quite content to go with Postegoglou and the existing backroom staff? And that's an open question.
Is Mason staying? Do we know?
Well, that's another good question. We don't know, do we?
He's meant to be bringing. Isn't there the talk that Ange is bringing Gavin Strachan? What's the name of his second in command, Craig?
I'll put it on the chat.
I've read today that it's Strachan.
Kennedy.
And there was talk that he's got a data analysis he wanted to bring in with him. But if you watch stuff on Ange previously, I've seen him actually do an interview where he says he never takes staff with him. So whether it's a change of tack from him and he really rates these guys, but he said he likes to sort of go into a club, get new staff, work with new people, keep him like invigorated and keep it all fresh. So that's a little bit of change of tack from him if he's bringing them. But yeah, anyway, director of football, you going on to?
Yeah, so I was wondering if anyone's bothered about that now. Is that yesterday's news? Where are you guys at with that?
I think we definitely need one. Most of the forward thinking clubs, your Brentfords, I'm a big fan of what Bloom is doing at Brighton. I am. I don't think anybody who listens to me regularly is as a surprise to people. I think you need some kind of overreaching view of where the football side of things are going, and you cannot leave that to Daniel Levy. So you need, and whether that's going to be Munn, I'm not really sure what this guy Munn does at the minute, but he seems to be
he's not a footballing guy, mate. I don't think he's a footballing guy. That's from what I've read and heard. I think he setting systems in place and stuff and getting people to do those jobs. Yeah, right. But I think he's not a footballing guy.
So you need a director of football, and hopefully that's the next thing on the to-do list is to get the director of football.
Yeah.
For me, it's a hard question to answer because what I never really get with these roles, and it's not for us to know, so that it's not really a problem, but that we don't really know what remits kind of fall under each role. So obviously we've got Scott Munn there. We've also got Greta Steinson there.
Yeah.
We've got is it Gabbanini as well.
Yeah.
And they all have separate roles in terms of talent identification, in terms of talent development, in terms of business opportunity, in terms of finance. It kind of crosses over everything. Now, they will have their own remits, but we don't know what that is. And therefore, we don't know what a director of football will be filling in to do. I always thought that, we've seen it as well with the directors of football that we've had. They've actually worked and operated differently. So we've had Baldini, we had Paul Mitchell, we've had... what was his name? The crook?
Paratici.
Who's just gone? Paratici. They all operated differently. All had slightly different remits. Obviously, it looked to me like the Levy was after a contacts book. That's what he wanted in terms of talent. Now, in terms of getting talent, we've had Hitchin as well. So very, very different, very kind of muddled thinking. From what I can tell, Paul thinks it's important. I think it probably is, but I couldn't tell you why because I don't really know what they're there to do.
I think it's important, but these other clubs they slide in and they do their job and they go about their business and like Paul said it at Brighton and at Brentford. The reason it's such a big deal to us is because the club's been such a cluster. The Paratici saga. Not having a manager, not having a director of football, because usually that bloke could, if all the other things aren't happening, that bloke goes and someone else slides in and does his job, and nobody else really cares because all you really care about is what's happening on the pitch. But I think it's been made into a big issue at Spurs because of everything that's gone on around that role and the manager, and it's obviously an important part of delegating certain jobs and making sure the football side's going well, but I think it seems a bigger issue because of what's gone on before with Paratici and being left with literally people thinking that it being made out that we're looking like a rudderless ship because we've got nobody running the football side of things.
Yeah, no, quite. All right, then, guys. Well, that's been a fantastic conversation. I think we'll sort of bring it to a close there. Paul, Seb, when's the next audio pod out?
Good question.
Well, that's a good question.
Should we just get Frank on the phone? Francis is what. There'll be one within the next kind of 7-10 days, definitely.
Yeah,
I will
excellent.
be doing an end of season quiz pod as well. So look out for that. Not quite sure of the timings yet. So, but I know there is quite a bit lined up with Brendan as well. I think he's planning a few things. So yeah. keep your ears and eyes out.
Excellent. And thanks for coming on, Seb. It's been great to see you again. And Paul, thank you very much.
Cheers, boys.
Gibbo,
Thank you.
All okay?
Yeah, be back on Wednesday, won't we, to talk about the same old stuff?
Yeah, we're back on Wednesday night. We've got sorry, Paul, go on.
Can I just say, I think you boys do a really good job.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
Thank you, Seth. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
But you're not getting my vote for YouTuber of the season.
Seb, who's paid you? Who's paid you? Someone's paid you.
No one paid me.
Somebody's got him tickets for away games and stuff like that, mate. I bet they're getting his vote.
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you what, you're quite close to the bone there. I didn't even think about that. When I cast my vote, but I gave it to Becky.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Unbelievable. I've got
Wow. Wow. In other news, water's wet. Wow.
very deserving. Very deserving of the vote.
Yes, very deserving, definitely.
And if she's watching, I'll be on her for United away, Everton away, Liverpool away.
If you want to be YouTuber of the year next year, Seb wants to go to Luton away. He wants
Brilliant. All right then, guys. Well, thanks ever so much. Thanks for everyone that's watched as well. Please do like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And we'll be back on Wednesday night. Gibbo, myself. We've got the Alex on, a new debutant, who is the guy who's behind the Cyprus Spurs flag, which I'm sure we've all seen at the stadium, and the stickers are on every single toilet in every pub around the ground. So he's going to come
Brendan's
on.
on as well.
Good. And Brendan's on as well.
Yeah,
Brendan as well. Yeah. So it should be good. But all right, guys. Well, thanks ever so much. Really appreciate it. And last thing to say is, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.